and welcome to the Yerky Boys. May the Kandrona shine and strengthen you. My name is Will.
My name is Jonathan.
And we are
the Yerky Boys.
Yeah, finishing up Megamorphs 2.
Go on.
In the Time of Dinosaurs.
Right.
Released May 1998.
Oh, nice. Both parts.
We're going chapter 20 through the end of the book this time. We ended on 19 last time.
Wow.
That's where we are.
Wow. This podcast is very informative and easy to follow.
Yeah.
My voice is back. I can talk again.
Congrats.
Remember how last time it sounded bad?
I do.
Time passed. It's healed.
I think it was more just your audio quality, though.
No. No. It was my little voice box.
Little boxy box.
And now everything is cool, and I'm ready to yammer on. Excuse me, on and on, all about part 2 of Megamorphs 2 in the Time of Dinosaurs. I can't wait.
Is that all you had?
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, we already talked about the cover.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. I don't really have anything from last week to bring up.
I think we are basically ready to jump in here, which is crazy to be ready this soon.
Yeah.
I don't have any points of order at any rate.
That's the benefit. This might even be shorter than last week's because we don't have to spend 30 minutes on the cover.
Yeah, it's true. So that's why we have to talk about this now.
Right.
Now, I didn't... I feel like I should do a refresher or something. I didn't really prep any kind of a refresher. Previously on, as we recall, there was a Sario rip. The Animorphs all went back in time to the time of dinosaurs. So they're here with the dinosaurs now. When they got separated, we have Rachel and Tobias in one group and the others in another group. Everybody still thinks Rachel and Tobias are dead. Everybody's gotten dinosaur morphs. And when we last left off, Tobias had just fended off a Deinonychus attack on Rachel, and the other Animorphs had just discovered buildings and flying saucers.
Right.
So that's where we are.
It was a bit of a cliffhanger.
Yeah. I was pretty proud of that selection.
Well, I don't know if you can accept too much credit for it.
I mean, I picked the chapter where we broke it in half.
Sure, it just was like almost exactly at the halfway point of the book.
Yeah, but it could have gone plus or minus one, you see. But this one was just so perfect that, it was a really good choice on my part.
Right. I guess.
Yeah. I'm just pretty good. You're lucky you have me on this podcast, is all I'm saying.
That's true. I mean, I am lucky.
All right. So let's start this actual book here.
I wanted to have just see how long we could go with no anything. Just long enough for someone to have to look at their phone and go, is something wrong? Did it stop playing? So we don't find out right away what's up with those saucers. There's a little bit of a...
Yeah, so the first thing that happens, we're back to Rachel and Tobias here. And so as you may recall, Tobias had become the new leader of the Deinonychus pack. Because he beat the old one. But now he has left them behind. First, he exerted enough control to allow Rachel to acquire one, and then they left, and now these poor Deinonychuses are just wandering around lost until they choose a new leader. They go wandering through the forest, and they see this big sail, and Rachel suggests, oh, we should morph Deinonychus and try to eat whatever that thing is, because she's a psycho. So they do it, but it turns out it is a Spinosaurus, which, if you remember them from the Jurassic
Jurassic
Park
Park
movies, what was it,
3.
Lost 3? I was going to
Yeah.
ask which Lost World movie it is.
No, yeah, it's 3. They
It's
they
3.
they got there first.
Yeah, yeah, they did. But yeah, it's a big giant Spinosaurus, and actually, there's two of them. So they can't. They're about to get eaten instead. They're about to try to run away. All of a sudden, this thing steps out of the bushes. It's like 8 feet tall. It's got this like rough textured red skin, two big eyes and a small mouth. It says it's like all monocolor, and it's carrying a weapon. Um, it identifies itself as a Nesk, and it uses its weapon to stun the Spinosaurs, and then asks them what they are and kind of what's going on there. And it asks in English out loud. It threatens Rachel and Tobias, and it's all like, "Oh, all creatures are ours," and blah blah blah. Rachel isn't into it, so she attacks the Nesk, and it just kind of like breaks apart and dissolves whenever she like bites or hits it, because the Nesk are actually ants. They're like hyper intelligent ants, and they can like form into other things. So we meet the Nesk.
Huh. Yeah. This is kind of a lot.
Uh-huh.
This is kind of a lot right up front.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to tackle the Nesk just yet.
Okay, we can tackle these Spinosaurs.
Yeah, I'd love to tackle the Spinosaurus. I'd love to tackle the fact that all of the Animorphs apparently did really well in home ec, because they're using Deinonychus skin to like bandage Rachel's wound and stuff. Like these guys are just, they're slicing up dinosaurs, they're eating them, they're turning them into shoes. The survival instincts are strong.
That's true. I feel like it's hard to skin things. Like
Yeah,
skin
I
doesn't.
gave him. I let it go before because the axe was helping.
Yeah.
But I guess the Deinonychus, maybe they used the claws to do it.
Yeah. That could be.
But how are they? They don't have string. They can't sew. Right?
Yeah, and the T-Rex, they used the like ligaments or something to sew it together. I don't know how they did this shit.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's just the dinosaur skin just fixes everything. It's a one size fits all miracle cure for all your problems.
Yeah, I wish we had dinosaurs now.
Me too, man. Me too. I think we do. Talk to my dad. He's old.
Is he like a boomer?
Oh my god, dude. You don't even. Let me put it this way: he would not get the Animorphs. He would not understand these millennials.
Okay, boomer. That's what I would say to him.
Yeah, I would love to hear Rachel say "Okay, boomer."
Well, I'm gonna imagine she has plenty of opportunities in the series to do, so I'm gonna imagine her doing it.
Ooh, she could say it to Chapman or Visser 3. That would be good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That would be. Imagine if Visser 3 morphed something that like went boom, and they were like, "Okay, boomer." It was like a kind of a play on words.
Yeah, but I don't know. That's maybe missing.
I think
the
it could
point.
be good.
Maybe if it's a callback, but not if it's the only reference. I think you'd have to establish it earlier on with an "Okay, boomer" that made sense.
I mean, I like that. I don't know if it's necessary,
Necessary? Now, there's some funny bits with Rachel continually talking about how Tobias sliced her open.
Yes, like food.
Yes, like a lot of different kinds of food because she's very hungry.
Yeah. Yes. Like a loaf of bread. That's how you sliced me up. Like a loaf of bread you get fresh from the bakery, all crusty and crispy and golden on the outside and soft and white and still warm inside. And raspberry preserves. Has to be raspberry. I like Smuckers. A big jar of raspberry preserves with the seeds. I mean, what kind of baby has to have seedless preserves?
Right.
Like that.
Yeah. I don't like too many seeds.
Eh,
Some
so you
pulp.
might be a little bit of a baby.
Yeah. I am a little bit of a baby.
Do 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 14-year-olds call it preserves? I feel like that's a 50-year-old thing.
Well, when I was a kid, my grandma always like she would make
Right.
preserves. So is there a difference? They're two different things, right? Like jam isn't the same as preserves, is it?
I don't actually know. I mean, I would just use jam interchangeably for those two things, but I could easily be wrong.
Yeah, I think maybe preserves is a more specific type of jam. I don't know. Maybe
I
I'm
don't
complete. Maybe they are the same, and it's just a regional thing.
I mean, this isn't I don't know shit about this. You're going to
Okay.
have to look this up for me.
Fruit preserves are preparations of fruits whose main preserving agent is sugar and sometimes acids, often stored in glass jars. Um, the term preserves is usually interchangeable with jams, even though
Bam.
even though usually, okay, don't get excited yet.
I'm excited. I
Even
wasn't
though
listening until you said that sentence. I don't know what
pre-
else you said.
preserves contain chunks or pieces of the fruit, whereas jams in some regions do not.
So I was right.
So preserves I think are more okay. It's the same.
Yeah, yeah. I think I won.
Yeah,
The
I
only
just
part I heard was that they were interchangeable. The rest of it I kind of zoned out for.
I just like preserves or preserves as I call them.
Hmm.
Anyway, to get
Right.
back on
Well,
track
it's
here,
because you do it before you serve them.
right? Obviously,
Yeah.
once you've eaten them, they're post serves.
Right. That's right.
So
Yeah. Back on.
right after Rachel says this, Tobias looks at her with his hawk eyes, his super hawk vision, and he says she hadn't slept, hadn't brushed her hair, and she was in a bad mood, but she looked great. Tobias thinks Rachel actually looks better without makeup.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think that's nice.
Yeah. I mean, I like it. I prefer women when they don't wear makeup personally,
Yeah, of
because
course.
Yeah.
I like the natural look.
Right.
I don't need a woman to have like the patriarchy forced her
Yeah.
to to support capitalism, buying makeup.
Yeah.
That's not my thing. I'm not into that.
Right. It's like makeup is for her, not for me. You know what I mean? And I don't like. I mean, personally, I want everything to be for me.
I do wear makeup sometimes.
Interesting.
Just a little, just to put a little color in the cheeks.
Hmm. That must be why you look different when you're sleeping.
It is. There is a lot of I mean there's a lot of funny Tobias Rachel back and forth here. I don't know about the part when Rachel thinks corn grows on trees.
Corn
Uh
trees. Does that remind? That's like the end of Wally or whatever, where they're like pizza trees
oh man, I haven't watched Wally in a while. I don't remember that.
or whatever it is, or pizza crop. Like when they land and they're like, I'm gonna teach
Hmm.
you kids all about farming. We're gonna grow all kinds of crops or whatever.
Well, I don't want to let's not have spoilers for Wally.
Okay,
People
yeah,
it
fine,
could be
whatever. I guess you're
um
right. Well, you'll
I
cut that out.
no, it's fine. It just feels this feels almost like I don't know. I guess you're supposed to. It's because she's like delirious, I guess, but it's a little
Yeah,
bit of a cheap joke. I think it feels like a Nickelodeon,
yeah.
iCarly or something. Oh, kid to corn trees. You know.
I do like how Rachel eats like shit. Probably learned it from her mom because her mom's always getting them takeout instead of making dinner. But like
Yeah.
when she's listing off all the food, she's thinking, going, because I can't get off this part where she wants food. I could go for some Taco Bell. She's like, pepperoni pizza, hunk of cheese, ham, bacon and eggs, Denny's, all that stuff. Um,
Yeah.
I just like I keep flashing back to the part where Cass is like, Rachel, I smell meat on you. I thought you said you were going vegetarian.
Yeah. That didn't really happen, right?
Yeah, that happened. It
That
was like book
happened in the
one or
book?
something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Or
I don't
no,
remember.
three? When they morph wolves. I think it's three.
Yeah. Rachel's like, food, glorious food.
Right.
I'm hungry for food now. Um,
Now,
and
I
then
like
she,
when they're looking for food and they're trying to find like a date tree, and Tobias is all like, "It's a date. You eat them."
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm glad you said that. I wasn't going to say it, but I did think about it.
Well, I had to. I mean, I rewatched all those. I think we both did, right, for the new indie movie. So,
Yeah, I didn't want you to say it. People either had to know the date reference or they didn't get that.
oh, I see. Like they weren't supposed to know why I was referencing.
I wanted to gatekeep the dates. I wanted to
Oh,
date keep.
I see. I see. You're trying to date keep. I get it.
Yeah. But there is the part where Tobias goes, bad dates. Okay. Now, I guess hawks can't digest fruit. Is that because Rachel eats some
Yeah.
fruit and Tobias is jealous?
Yeah, I mean he eats meat.
Right. It makes sense, I guess. I'm still a little confused, to be honest with you. And it feels like this must have come up in the last book, but I forgot because there was like so much going on. Tobias does morph, but I thought it was before it was hurting him too much to morph. I don't.
Every time they set when he morphed, it didn't heal his wing. So every
Right.
time he morphs, his splint gets fucked up, and Rachel has to reapply it.
So it only hurts to return
Well,
to
when he
Hawk.
returns, he won't have healed at all. You know what I mean? Like he'll come back and
Right.
he'll be just as hurt as he was. So if he stays in a hawk, it can heal. And if he returns, then you have to keep resetting it over and over and over, and it's probably bad for the healing process or
Okay.
something.
I feel like I was confused when they first described it. My impression was just that like it hurt him inherently just to morph, like the physical sensation of the broken
Hmm.
bone or something. I don't know, but
Now that's kind of interesting because like when you're morphing, I could see it hurting because you're breaking the splint and so now the wing is getting moved around, but also like you don't hurt from the morphing changes. Does morphing does the morphing technology just dull the pain associated with morphing and not any external factors or like how does what is
uh
what that
yeah, great question. Great question. I I think that's true,
Mhm.
but I can't think of very many circumstances when it would matter. But
Yeah, I don't think
yeah,
it's important.
there was just a part here where I was like, wait a minute. Tobias was all morphing and shit. I thought he wasn't supposed to do that, but now okay. It just isn't ideal.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, when he comes out of this morph, he'll have a broken wing again.
yeah, okay. Now you want to talk about the Nesk?
I guess. I did want to note that Rachel calls these things Danny Knockeruses.
I was I was this close to saying that and I decided to move on, but it's
No,
good.
no. I think because we didn't have any cover to talk about, so we've got to we've got to spend 20 minutes talking about the Spinosauruses.
I think the preserves discussion was pretty much our cover talk.
Okay, good. I'm glad we had that. Like we can't have an episode where we just get to it.
Yeah, it feels wrong. It's like this isn't. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah. Oh, and
I'm
I should make note of the fact that Spinosaurus lived in the early Cretaceous, I believe, and not the late Cretaceous. So this would be an inconsistency with the fossil record.
oh, don't worry. Tobias will cover that as
Yeah,
we mentioned last time.
we'll get that covered.
So the Nesk.
Yes.
the nest.
Yeah, this part's less interesting than the pepperoni pizza.
As you said, it's a race made up of presumably hundreds or thousands of ants. Like have just formed a body. They don't. They're. We'll kind of find out later, but they don't typically take the form of a body. Or they just have their little bodies.
Yeah.
There's got to be parallels to this in other media, but nothing's coming to mind. What's like a creature made up of a million tiny, I don't, or maybe like Oogie
Yeah.
Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas. It's kind of,
Oh, I guess he is, isn't he? Yeah, that's sort of true.
yeah, and I'm sure there's
I mean,
other
I
sci-fi
have a
horror.
note in here that says, are there other species, man? Like, I swear this is a thing. I can't think of any.
It definitely is. Like this is not. It's for sure a thing.
Hmm.
But they're not coming to me right now. I'll check TV tropes later. Um,
Okay, I won't.
but it makes quite an impression. This Nesk. It's immediately like we own all things.
Hmm.
It's holding a. They were initially just referred to it as a weapon.
Yeah,
Later on, it is referred to as a gun, and
looks
it
like a
is
gun.
said that it points the gun at a dinosaur. Nothing comes out of it. The dinosaur just falls asleep from being pointed at. And because, luckily, it's just a consistent across all alien species. All their weapons have stun settings. You just gotta.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they own all things, right, they don't want to destroy their property,
Oh,
so
yeah,
they have to be
that's
able
right.
to stun.
Yeah, that's true. That makes sense. Which this, if this were a visual medium, just pointing a weapon and nothing happening might not be great. Might not be a great thing to make for an interesting watch or to clearly get across to viewers
Yeah.
exactly what was happening on screen at any given time. But it's a book, so it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, like, this was one of those things that, like, as a little nerd kid, I was stupid about, where I would be like, if you shot, like, a real laser, you wouldn't really, like, the beam, it wouldn't work like in Star Wars, where there's, like, a blast or whatever. And then when I got a little older, I was like, they don't shoot lasers in Star Wars. They shoot whatever the fuck they shoot. I don't remember what it is, but it canonically isn't. The point is, I was stupid and a bad kid, and I should have been beaten more.
All right, that's clear. I'm glad we have that on record.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't know if this is how this works. Is some kind of particles are emitted. It's what we don't, or it's just a beam that's invisible to the human eye. We don't know. That's
Yeah.
fine.
We don't know.
Also, the Nesk can learn languages in a single night.
Yes, they know English because they were observing Rachel and Tobias since the other night. Or day,
Which
or whatever.
I mean, I kudos to Kay Applegate for at least being kind of consistent with the this again. This isn't a Babelfish situation. Like she is trying to make it so that look, every species doesn't speak English.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, well, but that's also too annoying. So we had to come up with a cheat so we don't have to deal with it.
Yeah. But at least there's a lot of cheats, right? Like the Yerks learn it from your brains. The Andalites have not a Babelfish, but some kind of technological equivalent. These Nesk are just like weird colony things and can therefore learn very rapidly or some shit.
And I guess thought speak also kind of
Yeah, and thought speak
eliminates.
just yeah.
Yeah, just works. Yeah.
But sometimes
There's
it doesn't, right? Like if you have Hork-Bajir and they've never had to interact with humans, they're just gonna come around being like Darfresh.
Yeah, well, even the Nesk still kind of speak in broken English a little
Yeah. Yeah.
bit. Because otherwise, how would you know it's an alien? You might be confused and think it's just a regular person.
I wonder how I mean, I should look. I wish I had the full transcript because the first question that comes to mind would be, how did you learn the words you didn't hear? So like you have to look. I There must be something that they said that's just like there's no way Rachel and Tobias said that word.
That is a great question that did not even occur to me.
I can't think of any that I don't know for sure though. Stun?
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. I don't know. Yeah, change to your other form. Like, did they say form?
Yeah. Yeah, it could have known the word morph. It makes more sense that it would know the word morph than how to say change to your other form.
Yeah, that's a good point. They're very intuitive.
Yes, they figured it out.
They have a, they have kind of a base in Latin romance languages.
Right.
They,
Somehow.
they put it together. Yeah, these Nesk are pretty ridiculous.
Yes, they are pretty ridiculous. I like how there's the running theme about ants being bad. Like
Yeah.
yeah, of course the fucking ant species makes war on everyone and wants everyone or wants to own everything. Like that's just what ants are like.
And it does kind of seem like these are not very different from just regular Earth ants.
Yeah.
I, it's they're just ants, but they just happen to come from another planet and be really smart. And they have stolen weapons and stuff. I guess we don't know that yet.
I think
But
outside of this, K.A. Applegate hints that Earth ants might be descended from the Nesk, but it's never stated in text
mm,
or explicitly stated out of text. I don't think.
it does seem like that's possible or likely, considering what else we discover in this book.
We sure do discover some things.
Because here I am going, oh, so I guess we were like, oh, what are these flying saucers in this city? I guess it's the Nesk.
Yeah,
No.
that would be the natural thought. Is we just met those aliens that made the buildings and the flying saucers.
Right. That would be
Um,
too straightforward for Animorphs.
right. So let's check those out. We flip perspective in the book to Cassie and the others. They all morph birds and go check out the buildings and the flying saucers and all that they saw. Um, so these buildings are weird. They're like supernaturalistic, as though they've like grown out of the bedrock. They've got like weird windows in all sorts of locations. They're very whimsical, I think. The description seemed whimsical to me anyway. There's planted fields near the buildings that are arranged in circles instead of rows. And as they get closer while flying, um, we get to see the things that live here, which are not the Nesk, but rather the Mercora. We don't know they're called Mercora yet, but I'm just gonna say it so that we don't have to. These things are very large crabs with like bright, wild, different colored shells. You know, they're like blue and green and orange and etc. We'll get more detail on what they're like a little bit later. But first, while they're checking out these crab cities, they get attacked by pteranodons.
Right.
Right. There's a
Yeah.
little bit at the beginning of this chapter of what you were asking for last time, right? About like them dealing with the fact that they think Rachel and Tobias are dead.
Yes, that is true. There is uh I assume it's Cassie in this part
Yes, yeah.
who yeah, she gives a little bit more of like we didn't have time to think about her, which I did appreciate.
Hmm.
It was something.
Yeah.
I wish I'd come a little earlier as well, but it was like okay, that's good. That's pretty much what we said. Wasn't said.
Yeah, I mean, I think I do agree. It's nice having this, but it could have, it helps if it feels that way the whole time and not just eventually
Sure.
a character says it.
Yeah, for sure. We get a little Andalite history too,
Yeah,
kind of.
until Marco cuts Axe off for babbling because he doesn't want to hear about it.
Yeah, but we do learn that they didn't exist yet at this
Yes.
time. So I don't know exactly if we know how long Andalites have been around, but not like millions of years, probably. I don't
Uh,
know. Maybe I'm wrong. I guess it could still easily be
we.
millions of years.
I'm trying to remember if we have the information to get like timestamps on early Andalite civilization, but I do not recall. But I'll keep an eye out on when exactly Andalites evolved. But they're still a ways off at this point, for sure.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
not that much younger than humans.
Got it. Okay.
Um,
I was pretty confused at this part because I was still like crab people.
right.
and these aren't the Nesk, I
No,
guess.
these are crab people. They're different than the Nesk.
This is like in the span of 20 pages or something. After half a book of dinosaurs, we are introduced to two brand new, completely different and equally bizarre alien races, and must must embrace the fact that they both existed apparently on Earth in Earth's history.
Right. Back in the time of the dinosaurs, there were aliens,
Now
high-tech aliens.
we still don't really know at this point, like, were they always there? Did they come here? Are they from Earth? Like, we don't really know what's up, but it's
That's true. We don't actually know they're aliens for sure yet.
yeah, man, it's just this is so weird.
It
There's
really
so
is.
it's so much to happen.
I'm glad we're overwhelming you here right out the gate in this book.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It, but you know,
Yeah. There's a couple other points here, unless you have more to say about it being a lot.
no, I'd like you to make points.
Okay. There's like a whole bit. I guess this kind of goes back to Cassie coping, but there's like a whole bit where she's trying to like she wants to be the one to go scope it out because she's afraid that she's going to lose other people. Like the rest of the like if they go off and do something dangerous, they might die too, and she doesn't want to risk them. So Marco gets a good joke here where he gets to say, why don't I go with Cassie? Somehow I don't think it's me she's worried about losing. I like that.
Yeah, that's very funny.
Good old Marco.
Hmm.
And I also wanted to ask if you had they discuss here some dinosaurs with two legs that are 3 feet high with huge yellow eyes. I don't know if you had any thoughts on what these might be.
This is a specific dinosaur species.
I don't know. They say as they're flying along, they describe the species, and I'm trying to make a like a note of all the dinosaurs.
I
Every
don't know
time they mention
about
a dinosaur, it goes in here.
yeah, I don't know about the yellow eyes. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're the small ones are. I like those little guys that get the eggs. There's like Compsognathus,
Right. Yeah.
but I don't know if that's what that is. Or Ornithomimus as well,
Yeah.
or
Yeah, those were two of them.
Struthiomimus.
Or Struthiomimus if we're talking about the eggs song.
Right. But yeah, I have no idea what periods those are from,
Yeah.
or about the eyes. And there's probably like 24 more similar species. So for all I know, those are raptors, right? I don't know.
I think they were different, but I don't remember. I guess the real issue also is that my knowledge on those guys is very out of date. Like dinosaur taxonomy has shifted so wildly since I was a kid.
Oh, and we're thinking raptors are not around in this period, right? I don't
Oh
remember. I
no,
don't
there's
know.
there's raptors around.
Oh, there
Yeah,
are. Okay.
they have the Deinonychus and the Velociraptors and stuff.
But did
Um,
we see raptors or just Deinonychus, I thought, right?
well, those are raptors.
Oh, well, I guess I'm thinking specifically
Oh, specifically
velociraptors.
Velociraptors. I
Yeah, sorry.
think they are as well, but I'm not sure.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. I'd have to check it.
Well,
I am gonna go though. I'm glad that you brought that up because now I can make a note in here that I think these are Struthiomimus because that way I can sing the eggs song.
yeah. They won't settle for the dregs.
No, that's right. Rachel would sing the egg song. She's got to have them thrice a day at least.
Yeah. To, man, we need an Animorphs musical. That's one of our episodes. We're gonna write it.
Yeah. When I wake up, first thing I do, morph.
I was gonna say Tobias's version was Voles.
Oh, that's good. Voles. Yes.
He loves those things.
And
That
then he'll
guy.
be like, I'll even kiss you. And Rachel's like, kiss me? I'm gonna, yeah. We gotta make this now.
For my dear beloved dose of voles. Okay. For anyone who doesn't know what we're talking about, this is from Indiana Jones. Now, what happens next?
Okay. What happens next is, so we've had some bonkers aliens. Let's have a fucking bonkers scene. Back to Tobias and Rachel here. They fight off this nest or these nests by stomping on them, like you would stomp on ants. But they get attacked by ships from the air. Now, these ships are described as being silver, twice the size of a bug fighter, but shaped like an elongated pyramid with the long end forward. So the ships are shooting at them, and they're running, and the ships are herding them into a trap, right? So on one side, we got like a massive wall of Nesk, and on the other side, there's a big cliff. Kind of reminds me of the Hork-Bajir in Book 13, The Change.
Right.
But they don't want to get captured by the nest, so they say, fuck it, and they jump off the cliff, which it turns out is like 500 feet. And as they're falling, we realize that we've met up with the others, because as they're falling through the air, they see other birds, and they also see the buildings, and they also see the pteranodons. So, at this point in the book, we switch perspective. Rachel and Tobias are falling, and there's some crazy shenanigans from Jake's perspective where they, like, grab onto the pteranodons and use them as hang gliders. There's also, like, falling into the nests and weird stuff with the cliffs. And at the end, they all land by surprise midair on, like, a giant force field that is protecting this city. And they have a reunion here.
This is yet another thing that to visualize it in your head is surreal.
Yeah. I mean, it's already, like, hectic enough that it's really hard to follow what's going on. And then when it's like, so he's hang gliding on the dinosaur? But he's also a dinosaur, recall.
Yeah. Just the image of these two dinosaurs just free falling off a cliff is so funny.
This is the shit that, like, Calvin would have drawn, or like I can't help but picture this in the style of Bill Watterson, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that's how all dinosaur media should be pictured.
Yeah. But especially when they're like flying spaceships or stuff.
There was one other dinosaur media I thought of.
Mm-hmm.
When they're stomping on those ants. I thought today is a beautiful day to be stomping on things. As a dinosaur, stomping on things is the best part of my day indeed.
What's that little house? You wish you were back in your time? Well, that's too bad for you.
Wow, maybe that's an Animorphs comic.
It might be.
Do you think people like these references?
I think they love them. We're having a hard time. This is our Animorphs here. If we wrote Animorphs, these would be the references. And every character would be Marco.
Every character. Yeah, this is, yes, 100%. Agreed. Oh, man.
This is a good podcast.
I love Marco and I love this podcast. Anyway, you guys can Google it. You'll figure it out. Now, this, as you said, there's this reunion. I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm moving past yes, it's a crazy scene, but is there anything specific that you want to note about it? Besides just the ridiculous action happening here?
I mean, not really. There's just a couple of points about, like, the chase, which we can get to whenever. I need to do the sound effect. Obviously, when they're being shot at, it goes choo. And I need to talk about when Rachel. Well, I need to mention when Rachel brings up the ant creatures from planet Zeptron.
Yes. She also licks the ants off of her with her long tongue. Just so you know.
Yeah.
That's what she does.
There's some, you can picture that.
It says that, and there's like no judgment or commentary at all. It's just like,
Yeah.
She's licking them off with her tongue. Let's move on.
Yeah, I mean, if you've ever accidentally eaten an ant, they are really gross. So
Did they ever morph anteaters? Didn't they do that once?
They didn't do that once, but they are going to morph anteaters.
See, that would have been a perfect morph for this.
Or at least one of them will. It would have been. If they'd already had the anteaters, they could have just, they could have been the Neskbane.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like Planet Zeptron.
It's good. When I was a kid, I had a standard planet name that I assigned whenever I made up a new planet, and I always called it Planet Zigboignufus. There's 2 Y's in that.
Zigboignufus.
Yes.
Okay. That's cool.
That was kind of cool.
Yeah, no, you were really cool.
Yeah. Thank you. I guess we can talk about this reunion.
I thought it was a little strange. They have this finally there's a reunion. Oh, you're alive and all this. Mm-hmm. Does Cassie even have a line in this scene? I don't think she does.
Beyond maybe being like Rachel or something There's a scene where she like tries to hug Rachel and she's a bird and Rachel's a dinosaur. Yeah.
Just after all this, she seemed to be the one, maybe the only one who was really taking this hard. And they don't even have a paragraph about her being relieved or something. It's so weird.
Yeah. I mean, actually, and this goes back to things that you've looked at here. I feel like most of this reunion is like Marco and Rachel riffing with each other again.
Yes, there is a lot of that.
It's like, finally.
We're back together. We can crack jokes about how much we hate each other. Ha ha ha. Everything's normal. Yeah. Just get a room, you two.
Mm-hmm.
No, and I'm not talking about Bono and the Edge.
I'm a little tired of that joke from you.
I think I haven't made it in a while.
I mean, you haven't made it on this podcast, I don't think.
So I'm due. I should get at least one per episode. I've got like 20 freebies coming to me.
I just don't know.
Well, we'll see.
Once again, Axe is expected to be the authority on weird aliens here, even though it's fucking 65 million years in the past and there's no way he would know these things.
Yeah, pretty funny. I like how annoyed that gets him.
It's pretty good.
And is this where he mentions some alien names?
At some point, he is going to mention the Korla.
That's what I was getting to, yes.
I think it's not quite here, but yes. Let's talk about the Korla. Yeah, I don't have anything to say about them other than
yeah, he just met. He's like, all these aliens, like the Korla. Do we ever see the Korla?
No
Korla.
It's like every time she makes a list of all the aliens, it's like I gotta throw one weird one they don't know what it is in there. It's got to be a new one.
Yeah, we don't want to. She doesn't want it to be like George Lucas. She doesn't want the universe to be so small.
Right.
So it's not like, look, you're not going to meet every alien race. There's a million of them.
Mm-hmm.
But God, I'm dying to find out more about the Korla.
Yeah.
With a K, just so people know.
Right. The Korla, the Ongakics. Now, the Ongakics, I think, got mentioned twice because they're the ones where the females look like Klingons, but that's why I remember them.
Yeah. I do remember that. I didn't remember their name, but I'm glad you do.
Yeah, how could you forget?
But it's exciting stuff. And I was at this point, I'm like, I think I was still even a little confused. I wasn't sure if these aliens we're about to meet are the same as the crab people. I'm like, how many aliens are in this book? Who's flying these ships? But it gets sorted out.
Yeah, this isn't really what you picture when you think like, oh, this is the book with the dinosaurs, right?
Suppose not.
And even the dinosaur scenes, it's like, yeah, okay, the first part, it's like, yeah, they get chased by T-Rexes, they get attacked by Deinonychus, and now it's like they're hang gliding on pteranodons. We've just completely left all of the standard tropes of dinosaur fiction behind here.
Yep. We did that already. It's boring now. We're on to
Hmm.
half two, baby.
As you said last time, they already got chased by a T-Rex twice.
Yes.
It's time to move on.
What do you want? A third T-Rex chase? We need aliens in here.
It's time for aliens.
Kay Applegate was halfway through Jurassic Park and was like, "Oh my god, I'm bored. When are they going to discover a race of aliens in this park?"
Flip over to Star Trek.
Now this I can relate to.
that does. I'm not gonna lie. I do imagine that her writing process is something akin to that. It really feels like it's a lot of just like, I had some ideas, I fucking threw them in here. Started getting bored, threw some more shit in.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? It works.
Yeah, except when it doesn't, but
Yeah, well.
but that's good too.
I always say, and I've always say this.
Right.
You can back me up.
Yeah.
And I think maybe it applies here. Maybe. we'll see. About the original Star Trek. I always say the only thing better than a great episode of the original series of Star Trek is a really bad episode of Star Trek.
You do always say that.
Yeah. I love them both. And maybe there's a little bit of that in Animorphs as well.
Yeah, there are some parallels. I'm not really a Trek head, so but I think there are some parallels there with
Have you
regards
watched
to that.
the original series ever?
Scattered episodes, but not really.
You would love it because it's very Twilight Zone-ish. Like I think Rod Serling wrote on some early Star Trek episodes.
Yeah, it's too bad I don't watch TV.
Yeah, it's a shame.
I mean, I would watch it if I didn't have to try or put any effort in.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm a zone head.
Oh,
some T zones, you know.
Right. Of course.
Right.
I bet Kay Applegate does too.
I bet she does. It seems like her jam, right?
Yeah.
She references all this other. She's definitely a sci-fi, like, because like she's always. I feel like it's not even these. You see it outside of the books too. It won't just be Star Trek. She'll also talk about like Babylon 5 and all the other shows that were on whatever the fuck. I don't know if I've ever seen her mention Stargate.
I don't know.
When did
about
Stargate start?
Yeah, I really
when was
don't
the
know.
movie?
Movie had to be before this. I don't know. I'm not a Stargate guy. I never watched any of it.
I watched a bunch of Stargate, and I had friends who were like huge Stargate heads, so I know more than I should.
I was really into Andromeda.
I never saw Andromeda.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Nobody watched that. That was.
Oh, you had me so intrigued.
I remember the commercials because I would always see them, and it was like Gene Roddenberry's show that wasn't Star Trek, and I think it was it Kevin Sorbo was the star of that one?
I don't know like a single thing about Andromeda.
Nobody does.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about that show.
I think my dad was a huge Red Dwarf fan, but I never saw that either.
Oh man.
He didn't bother to show me any of that.
He really screwed up. Could have saved you. Might have been the thing you needed.
It could have been.
So can we talk about these crab people or what?
Yeah, let's meet these Mercora.
I'm just gonna call it crab people.
All right, so the Mercora come out. It's not. I don't understand the exact circumstances of this meeting. Like, I guess they're still on the force field in midair, and some Mercora walk out on the force field to talk to them. Is
That
that
sounds
wait?
right.
Okay, uh, like when they like fizzle in, it's like TV static, and Axe calls it a localized force field derived sensor shield. I don't. So I was trying to like, what is? I don't know. Whatever. I'm just assuming they're on this force field, and some Mercora come out to talk to them, also on this force field.
Yeah.
Um.
Yeah.
So more complete description of these crab people. They are as tall as a tall human. So more than 6 feet. They're not manlets. They're like 8 feet wide. On one side of their body, they have a huge three-way pincer. And on the other side, they have two strong human-like arms with long fingers. They have 7 legs, 4 on one side, 3 on the other, and the 4 legs are much bigger than the 3 legs, so they're very lopsided. And they have shitloads of eyes that are just constantly opening and closing. So like if you look at their face, it's just like constant flickering of eyes opening and closing all over the place. And they speak in thought speech.
Yeah.
So they demorph, the Animorphs demorph, and they converse with the Mercora. They figure, it's safe to tell them and shit because they're so far in the past. The Mercora tell them about what's going on with them. So we do find out the Mercora are aliens. Apparently their sun fell into a black hole and they left. And they are the last Mercora colony. And the Nesk are their enemies and want to take over and kill them. Now the one thing they don't reveal, and they don't reveal it, I think, on Tobias's don't tell them, is that they are from Earth, right? Like they tell them we're from the future, but they don't tell them that they're from this planet.
Yeah. Yeah. Bit of a Planet of the Apes
Bit of a
situation.
Planet of the Apes. For a more detailed explanation, Jake actually refers them to Axe and says Axe can explain better than me. Axe says, we are from the future. And Marco says, hey, that's a much better explanation than Jake could have come up with.
Got him.
That's pretty good.
This is a situation where I don't know that Axe would be my choice of who I want to describe a new alien species. I'm reading it piece by piece because he's very, what's the word? Analytical, clinical. Trying
to not be offensive in the way you describe that. Is that it?
No.
Okay.
No. If I'm going to be offensive, I'll be offensive.
Okay.
But it's like, them being, they're as tall as a human, but 8 feet wide, 7 or 8 feet wide, or half the height of a human, 7 or 8 feet wide. And I'm just that description by itself, I'm like, what the fuck does this look like? But then I'm like, oh, right, it's a crab.
It's a huge fucking crab, yeah.
If you just say it looks like what a crab looks like, then I'm on the same page as you. But when it's like doled out piece by piece like this, it seems much stranger in my mind because I'm like trying to put a puzzle together. Because Axe doesn't have these human things to relate it to.
Well, she's relying on you to remember that they were crabs.
Right. I do like them.
I love them.
I don't know why they would evolve to have uneven legs.
Like the Geds. I just like uneven species, I guess.
It's really weird. The eyes are really nice, though.
Yeah.
Dozens of eyes all over the place.
I don't think it's ever explicitly stated, but there do seem to be... I always had I don't know if it's implied or if I just imagined this, but I always imagine them to... like the way their eyes flicker might reflect their emotional state. Like they say when they get surprised, like a shockingly large number of eyes open at once. So I like to imagine that Maybe it's more than that, right? Like you could like have like they could do the wave with their eyes opening and closing. Like how octopuses like use color to express emotion. They could use their eye movement.
Yeah, I love it.
It's really good.
You can imagine them seeing something shocking and just all their eyes open wide at once. Bling.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so they are from another planet and they came here because they lost their home.
Mm-hmm.
And we also discover the origin of broccoli.
Yes, that happens in just a bit, but yes, we discover the origin of broccoli is a crop that the Mercora brought with them from their homeworld. It is not native to Earth.
Because why not? You got to have one
Yeah.
of those.
Yeah. Now I feel like this is in here. I mean, I don't. Marco makes a bunch of jokes about like, oh, of course it is. I feel like this is in here to be like, oh, well, kids don't like broccoli, so we'll be like, it's like that. That's why the joke works. Now as a kid, I loved broccoli, and I still do. But I'm thinking back on it, and I'm wondering. I wonder if I started liking like if I was just like whatever on broccoli, but I started liking it because it was alien food. Like, because I do
Oh
seem to
my
recall as a
God.
kid eating broccoli and being like, this is alien. This is like a Mercora would eat.
Oh my God.
Listen, you can't tell me. I mean, like, I feel like this was the psyop, right?
No,
Right?
the reason we all liked broccoli is because of the Powerpuff Girls episode.
I mean, that was pretty good too, but I'm positive I read this book before I saw the Powerpuff Girls episode.
Yeah, well, that's for you then.
Look, if you were a real little kid and somebody said giant alien crab sprout, it's not a human food, it's an alien food, you'd be like, I want to eat the alien food, right?
Maybe. I am surprised they didn't go Brussels sprouts because I feel like that's the
Mm,
more classic kids. Everybody hates Brussels sprouts.
that's true, or asparagus or something. I like Brussels sprouts and asparagus.
Asparagus. I don't even Brussels sprouts. I feel like that now people are like, "Oh, Brussels sprouts actually are good," and I'm like, "No, they're not. I don't think they're that good."
Yeah, I mean,
Broccoli is good.
they're not good like broccoli is good, but they're pretty good. They're fine.
I'm sure if
I
you
like them.
prepared them and like cooked them well and seasoned them and stuff, they're good. But
Hmm.
I mean, that's true of a lot of things. But yeah, the broccoli. Maybe I think when I was a kid, I would just you just have broccoli with like cheese on it or something, and I was into
Yeah, no,
that.
not into that. I mean, I
Well,
would
that's pretty
do it
good.
because there's cheese, but
The only time
I
I
like
really eat
cheese.
broccoli now is when I get Chinese food.
Oh yeah, you got to get broccoli in your Chinese food.
That's good. Yeah.
No, I like just like a good steamed broccoli.
Steamed?
Hell yeah.
I guess. I mean, I'll put broccoli in a stir fry.
Yeah, it's good in a stir fry because all the little leaves, they like it's almost like they're sponging up all the fry that you're stirring.
It is weird. Broccoli looks fucking weird. It looks like a
It
little
does.
alien tree.
It does. I tried to look this up. I was like, when did broccoli evolve? Um,
Mm.
to see if this matched the actual timeline here. Um, Now I don't know the difference because I would have had to like do real research and I didn't feel like doing that. So I don't know how different wild broccoli is from domesticated broccoli. But I
Mm.
do know that the broccoli genus split about 40 million years ago. So that's not that far off. So maybe I mean you could imagine that they had broccolis coming in around this time.
Yeah, that's only what 25 million years difference.
Yeah, but that's the genus splitting off. So you could have had something similar in that family or whatever, and then you get the idea, right? Like it's close enough. The Animorphs call it broccoli.
Sure.
It's good. And maybe we have our dates a little bit wrong too. It's not an exact science.
I just thank God for the Mercora, or else Dana Carvey wouldn't have had that bit on Saturday Night Live.
I
You
don't
know,
know anything about SNL.
but chopping broccoli,
I don't know chopping broccoli.
you're chopping broccoli,
It's pretty
you're,
good.
you're
I like
chopping
when you do it.
chopping broccoli.
Yeah. Do that again.
No,
Okay.
I feel like I had one other thing I wanted to say about broccoli. There was a character on Star Trek: The Next Generation who they called broccoli.
That's interesting.
Um,
On that note, we do find out that carrots are from Earth.
that's good.
Now carrots, uh, it's going to be a little bit weirder because the domestic carrot is wildly different from the wild carrot, right? And I don't think the domestic carrot is documented back more than like a little over 1,000 years or so. So they
Huh.
wouldn't have had carrots that look like what we eat.
It is crazy when you look at those comparison photos. If you ever see like what
Hmm.
fruit used to look like,
Yeah,
it's like, oh damn, we really improved the shit out of the strawberry. That fucking did not look delicious
yeah,
a
no,
100 years ago
100%.
or whatever, 200 years ago.
Yeah, no, like the wild carrots were like super bitter and tiny, and I think they were actually first cultivated because like their leaves and seeds smelled good and not because you ate them.
You eat them.
You eat them.
What did the date look like? I wonder.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
You already made a bad dates joke, so I can't be like back before we domesticated them then.
I'll cut that out if you want to do it again.
No, that's okay.
Okay. That's fine.
I mean, they find let's just get this next section here.
Yeah.
They find because they find out about all this stuff because they end up hanging out in Mercora Land here. I want to go now. I want to go to Mercora Land Park. Um, but
Me too.
anyway, the Mercora have made them this like apartment style place, and they've made them like furniture out of color tinted force fields. They've speed healed Tobias's wing, so Tobias's wing isn't broken anymore, so that's good. We fixed that problem. They made them some clothing, I guess, so they're not in their morphing outfits, and they're feeding them. So that's why we're learning about broccoli and carrots because the Mercora they only eat cultivated vegetables. The Animorphs, Marco's talking about wanting meat, but whatever. Um, so Axe has been discussing things with the Mercora over the past
Well,
day or so. Yo,
it,
yeah,
I just on that note,
yeah.
so but they do kind of need, if they are just eating broccoli and carrots, aren't they kind of lacking in certain nutrients and vitamins they might need?
Yes, that's true. You have to. I've never tried to go vegetarian, but you do have to like actually pay attention to like, are you getting enough protein and all this other shit.
Yeah.
Um, but it could get figured out, I'm sure.
I guess it's fine for like a couple days. They're okay.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to eat it all for a couple days. So.
Okay. Go on. We're going to move past that.
It's fine. It's like fasting.
We're
Anyway.
going to move past it.
Anyway, so Axe has been discussing with the Mercora. Like I said, they're trying to figure out how they're going to redo the Sario rip or undo it so that they can go back to their own time. They need a huge explosion, something to mirror the nuke that brought them here in the first place. So they'll need to do it like out away from the compound, otherwise they'll blow up the whole Mercora settlement. Also, there's another problem, which is that the Mercora do not have powerful weapons, right? They're really good with force fields, but they don't do weapons. But the Nesk have weapons. There is a Nesk base nearby, and the Animorphs figure, well, the Nesk, that if we tried to fly in, the Nesk would just blow up the Mercora ships, but the Nesk, they don't kill the dinosaurs, right? Because they think they belong to them. So we could just morph into our dinosaurs and go into the Nesk base and get the explosives that we need. So we've got a plan Axe has got some computers. He can figure out the theory of how to do this, maybe. They've got a plan for how to try to get back to their own time.
Yes. If you want to travel in time, you make a big explosion.
Right. The particulars, you have to do it at the right way, at the right time, in the right place. It's just lucky that it already happened to happen to them twice. But Axe is going to try to figure it out this time, so they'll do it right.
It's very precise science.
Right. Which is why it makes it feel a lot more like Elemist shit when it just kind of keeps happening to them and nobody else.
There was a point, maybe it was when the crab people were emerging, where I was pretty sure that an Elemist was about to show up. Like, it's started to feel too bizarre, but
It's
it didn't
just,
happen.
yeah. When it gets this crazy, you got to put an Elemist in there.
Now this is where they have a pretty, I thought, a pretty good in-depth discussion about the implications of their time travel, basically butterfly effect. I don't know if they
Yeah.
directly did they in the first half mention something about a butterfly effect, or maybe they don't say it directly, but
I don't think they do say it here. They mention the butterfly effect in book 7. So,
okay.
like, clearly that's something K. Applegate is aware of.
And I thought it was like, all things considered, it was a pretty good. They covered all the angles, and I
Mm-hmm.
guess, because there's different kinds of time travel, right?
Right.
And maybe we've talked about this already, but it seems like we're dealing with Back to the Future. There's one consistent timeline, and if you go back in it, you will change your future. There's no branching paths, there's no alternate dimensions. And I don't know if then there's the discussion of, like, if you change something in the past, was it always changed? Like, in certain time travel fiction, it's actually impossible to change the past. Like, if you go back and try to shoot yourself, you won't be able to, because you're still alive in the future, and you can't create a paradox.
Right.
I don't know.
I'm
I don't
surprised
know.
you haven't brought up Harry Potter 3 yet.
Well, I don't usually like to refer to Harry Potter
Okay.
media just because of my sort of
Right.
political leanings. I don't
Right.
agree with a lot of that stuff.
Right.
That's just me. No judgment. If anybody likes that, that's fine.
Right. No, that's consistent with your earlier statements on this
But
podcast.
I don't know. How do you feel about the consistency of the timeline in Animorphs? Does this all make sense? Is this
Yeah, I mean, I knew you would like this part because I know you love that kind of time travel stuff. So,
Oh wow.
but yeah, it's Animorphs really kind of runs the gamut on this, right? Like, in this one, we do seem to be in that kind of time travel, where, like, I think it's consistent, and that can go some way toward explaining how the Saria Rip got him back here, because if they had to be back here, then they had to Saria Rip back here, right? Because it already happened or something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
were they always here?
yeah,
Right? That's the question.
and that's a question that they have. They don't actually know the answer to that. Um, but you kind of gotta hope that you were always here, because if you, like, Tobias brings up the point, it's like, listen, I already ate an animal. Like, we were here. There's no getting around the fact that we were not here if we didn't travel back in time. And 65 million years of butterfly effects, it's going to look completely different. It will not look the same.
But
So,
you do
yeah.
kind of have don't you kind of have the cover? I mean, look, putting aside the complications of the Nesk and the Mercora, if you're in dinosaur time, it's like, oh, this shit's gonna get wiped out anyway. Maybe it kind of doesn't matter then.
Well,
'Cause-
I don't know. I think it has to. I think it just has to. Like that's the whole thing with the butterfly effect, is that, like, you make
yeah,
one tiny change, and you don't have to go out very many iterations before everything is different when you're in a chaotic system. So it doesn't really matter what you're doing to this system. The whole thing is gonna fucking be different.
we
Like,
need Ian
literally just
Malcolm
being
here.
around. because like in the butterfly effect, they're talking about like, and this is reasonable mathematically that like if you want to predict weather patterns uh out for like several years, because technically they're all deterministic, right? Except on like a quantum level and whatever. But you would need to know the detail of what's disturbing the air down to the level of a butterfly flapping its wings, because so like literally Tobias flying in the air, if you extrapolate out those movements, a million years, the weather patterns are totally different now. Um,
I'm gonna
just
have to
because.
rent that movie again because I'm not following a lot of this.
Okay. I mean, that's the idea, I guess, from like layman's I don't understand it very well terms.
Yeah, yeah, but I
But yeah,
like it.
the point is that like you have to hope, right? Because if you weren't supposed to be here, then there's really only two options. One is that you're all gonna die and this timeline's gonna be erased, and the other one is that you fucked everything up and everything's fucked up and you're fucked and you can't go home. So you
Right.
really have to hope it's that that you were supposed to be here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, which I feel like that almost it doesn't really make as much sense if you weren't always there because you
Hmm.
were there. So then you by default were always there. It's it gets
Hmm.
into the whole but
Yeah, Animorphs doesn't really do like branching multiverse theory, right? When Animorphs does multiple universes, they're always unstable. It's not like, well, it's like what is
uh-huh.
that's in Terminator, right? Like if you change the universe, you're in a different universe. That's in Dragon Ball Z, I
Uh
know.
I think no, I'm pretty sure Terminator is like this too.
Okay.
Unless I'm misremembering. But I feel like most time travel fiction was like one timeline up until like the last 20 years or something. But I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe I'm wrong about that. It just seems like that was usually the default. I think because of Back to the Future was or like Bill and Ted is like that. It's just like
Hmm.
it's just if you go back, you change one thing. Like no one was really thinking about branches as much,
Yeah.
at
I
least
mean,
in
like
mainstream.
I do come back to Dragon Ball Z because that was one of my earlier things where it's like, yeah, I can travel to the past to stop the androids from killing Goku. But if I travel back to the future, I'll travel back to my own timeline future. I can't change my timeline, but I could create a different timeline in which this didn't happen. You know?
Yeah. Trying to remember
Trunks is
what
a
12
badass.
Monkeys was about. Can't remember.
Yeah. But yeah, in Animorphs, it feels like timelines are like there's really only one timeline, and the only way that what you're doing doesn't matter is if it collapses because you're in a weird Sario rip and like there's two people and one of them like in the first book where the whole timeline they were in collapsed because it's not stable to have multiple universes, or because Elemist shit is happening. Like the time matrix makes an alternate universe, but then it goes away. Or like the Elemist steps in and says, yeah, Elfangor, you really did show up here. You really did have a kid. But also, I'm going to just change these things so they didn't happen that way so the timeline's not consistent. But it's okay because I did it.
Yeah.
It's all over the place in Animorphs what it actually happens, but it does feel like usually if it's not consistent, there's some external factor to that.
um I'm looking at Terminator now.
Yeah. Yeah, tell me about this because in the first movie, I think you're right, but I thought eventually they started adding lore.
I believe there's a there's a whole thing about it. There
Okay.
are a few different timelines in the Terminator series.
Okay.
I think according to what I'm looking at, Terminators 1 and 2 are a consistent timeline.
Hmm.
But if you start going into Terminator 3 and 4, they sort of branch off.
Okay.
Uh, but I don't quote me on this. I'm not reading this too thoroughly because there's a
Okay.
lot.
But it's like a later Terminator thing, the early movie.
Yeah,
If you,
I
yeah.
think the conceit of 1 and 2 was pretty straightforward. You need to stop the future from being this. We're sending you this guy back so that we stop the leader of the resistance because he's a problem in our time. So if we stop him in the past, he won't be a problem in the future. So that would imply it's the same future.
Right. But then it fails because you can't do it. Because it already happened. Because they don't stop him.
It fails because
they
don't stop him. But if they did, then maybe it wouldn't have.
Well, but the point being, like, they couldn't. Like, they had to fail, right?
But do we know that?
I don't know that we know that, but it's a reasonable hypothesis, and we don't not know it. It's fiction, right, man? I would say that if you're writing a fictional story and you chose to make nothing change, then I'm gonna run under the assumption that you can't change it in that universe.
Huh.
This isn't science. I'm not doing empirical, experiments on the Terminator universe.
It's science fiction.
Right. They have to do that within their fictional world.
When we get to our Terminator podcast, we'll get more into the weeds on this.
Okay. Yeah, that's our next podcast after this. So.
Yeah, there's like 5 of those, plus the TV series, the comics. We got plenty to work with there.
That's good.
Video games, of course. All right. What's happening? Are we in a book?
Yeah, we are in a book here. Oh, let's get back into some Animorph stuff. Let's get out of this time travel crap. So Marco here is sitting around making Marco jokes. He's talking about
mokes, I call them.
Mokes, right. He's making some mokes, and he is, because he's eating all the veggies, he wants meat. He says we got to introduce him to the McRex. And you may remember, I think it was in book 17, I got a little upset with K.A. Applegate for the way in which he described what was in, the Big Mac. Now here, Marco describes the McRex as 2 all Tyrannosaurus patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun. Which, it sounds like K.A. Applegate was listening to our podcast and took my advice when she wrote this.
Well, we did send a copy of it back in time.
Right.
So that she could have that.
Yeah. This is why we're the best Animorphs podcast out there.
It is true. Yes, we are actively improving these books. Now, the same reason I think she finally got the message about the hyphen in Spider-Man.
Right. Yeah. That's because we've been, we should, going forward, let's make sure we send all of our podcasts back so that she can improve the books going forward.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's weird she didn't do anything about the whole Marco being groomed joke, but she's made some good improvements other places.
Well, she didn't find out about it. He hasn't been groomed since then, has he?
True. We think. I mean, to be honest, he's probably still in those chat rooms. It's happening.
Oh, yeah. Party girl or whatever her name was. I guess she's an old guy, but, like, online she's a girl.
Hey, age is just a number, man. No? Harold and Maude, it could be that kind of a thing.
Yeah, you're right. Mercora apartment. Let's move off of this topic and move on to this Mercora apartment.
You sure?
Yeah. I'd live in this apartment.
I guess.
Can you imagine if it was like Star Wars Land, but they had the Mercora apartment, and like they had like, if you looked out the window, they had like holograms of dinosaurs walking around.
That's sick.
And there could be like a Mercora animatronics, like giant crabs.
That would like
greet you when you walked in.
I'm picturing this like a Tatooine-esque. I don't know if that's exactly accurate, but that's sort of what I'm picturing for this.
Interesting. I was thinking something almost more like Dr. Seuss, right? Like with the weird, like curved buildings with the wonky shapes and windows everywhere.
I don't think those are too far apart.
I guess they're not that far apart. For me, it's more like gray and green and earthy tones. Something that would fit in like folklore.
Brown is an earthy tone. Tan is an earthy tone.
I just don't know that we're on the same page about that.
I think we are. I think maybe we are. You're just not seeing it.
Hmm.
You're not on the same page about us being on the same page, but if you were, I think we would be.
Okay, I'll buy that.
I was trying to think. What are if there's any perceivable origin of the names of these creatures? Like Mercora could be kind of like a mix of mermaid and coral, something like that. You know,
Not to me.
not to you. It seems like it sounds like it has an underwater sort of vibe to it to me, like
Yeah,
Mercora.
that's sort of true.
Mercora. They're crabs.
They are crabs.
Come on, don't fight me on this.
I mean, I guess it's got an underwater vibe to it.
Thank you. Christ. The nest, I guess, just sounds like nest, maybe.
Yeah. Or like, yeah, sure, why not? Or like some weird sound, like you could maybe they go like nesk.
Yeah, it did say they have a raspy voice.
Nesk.
Yeah. Scary. I don't like it. Yeah, all right. So they decide they gotta let's go steal a nuke, right?
Yeah, they've got to go steal what they call a nuke. Axe thinks that's kind of funny and is like, well, maybe we can get something better than that. But they're gonna go steal some kind of explosive device from the Nesk. So at dawn the next day, the Mercora, they fly them out to like the edge of Nesk territory as close as they can get. And the Animorphs all go into their Dinomorphs, right? There's like a big old scene. So again, we haven't none of the T-Rex guys have practiced their morphs. This seems like one you want to practice.
They had like 4 days when they were just doing nothing.
Yeah. They didn't practice it, so they all go out, they morph, and there's like a big old scene where they want to eat Tobias and Rachel. But the T-Rex guys, they all get distracted by some tries who show up. I don't know if you remember that term, the tries.
As in Ceratops?
As in Ceratops.
Yeah.
As in Ceratops.
No, we're not doing that.
Okay, fine. But most of before anything gets too far, most of the Animorphs, the T-Rex Animorphs, they kind of like get control. But one of them attacks. And so there's a big fight scene with all the tries, and it ends with the T-Rex, who's still not in control, kills one of the tries and eats it. Like really graphically starts eating it. And we find out it's Cassie. Cassie's the one who couldn't get control, so she's killed this Triceratops and is eating it. Jake gets her to get control back by demorphing and turning into himself, and Cassie is very traumatized by what she has done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this. This is fun.
It's fun, huh?
Poor Cassie. Listen, maybe it's fun when the Animorphs get traumatized.
This is now it's got to be at least the 3rd or 4th time something like this has occurred.
Mm-hmm.
The Iron Giant, the Hulk, the Avatar, the Last Airbender in Avatar state. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the person is out of control, but it's up to there's always the guys like, no, I'm gonna find the good inside of them still, even though they could kill me easily. They're gonna change. They're gonna remember who they were.
Right. Well, I mean, Cassie can't eat Jake, can she? She loves him.
Well, she really likes him.
She really, as in like.
Yeah, as in likes.
Yeah.
But that's fine. I mean, it's it is the first time. Maybe it's more significant here because it's happening to Cassie.
Yes.
And Cassie, okay, I think, once again, I think we need to talk about the Cassie of it all.
Mm-hmm.
Is this the first time she's killed something?
No, actually, Cassie got the first kill of the series. I don't know if you remember this, but way back in book 1, uh, somebody asks what happened to the human cop who found Cassie and dragged her down to the Yerk pool, and it is heavily implied that Cassie killed him. But they
So,
do not, like, they are fighting down there and they run away and leave, and like the first explicit somebody got killed is it well, it's not explicit. The first time it is heavily implied that anybody got killed in the series, Cassie did it.
yeah, I am remembering that.
Yeah.
And I think that's my issue to some extent with Cassie's personality, is that I think this development came too late.
Hmm.
And I think that it feels to me like Kay Applegate didn't entirely know who Cassie was, even really until like the last few books.
Hmm.
And I feel like she started out as just oh, she loves animals and she's knows a lot about animals. But she's now a full-blown pacifist. And I think that the part of that just doesn't quite work for me is that we've seen her commit so much violence already
Mm-hmm.
that it's just feels it doesn't quite line up. But I'm coming around to it now because I've just sort of made this distinction and been like, okay, it's kind of just like a retcon, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are looking at all of these and reading them in a row and thinking of it as a consistent series where everything is canon, it does kind of bother me from that view.
Yeah,
Uh,
I can see that, and I think you are right. Like when she first starts, she's like, I don't know, Cassie's the animal person, and we talked about this with what's everybody's thing, right? Right off the bat, Cassie's thing. Well, not right off the bat, but like within a couple books, Cassie's thing becomes like I have to protect like the world, the environment, the natural everything around me. Um and we move farther and farther into this where Cassie's like I have to protect in some sense like my soul, right? If I can't be going out here and just killing things, I need to feel something. I need to feel bad, right? I need to, because if I don't feel bad, then what the fuck am I? um so and you could see some of this as like a progression where it's wearing on her, where at first it's like, look, you just got to do what you got to do, but then as it goes on, it's like getting worse and worse as she's coming to terms with what she's done. It is
mm,
true that you kind of have to read, if you want that to be consistent through the early books, you do have to kind of read that into it. I think as you get toward these books, as you said, though, I think there's less explicit Cassie killing and more just like Cassie fights, but she tries her hardest not to actually kill.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, yeah,
Cassie's Cassie and like that is the thing with Cassie, is that it's not like Cassie doesn't recognize that they need to do this. So it's very difficult for her. Um
right. And I think it works better in this book than it has before. But better for me if I sort of almost think of this as like a soft reset for Cassie. But
mhm.
um,
Soft reset could have happened a couple books ago. Like I think this arc starts around book
yeah,
16, right? Like that's
yeah,
really where she starts being like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing anymore. On that last thing where they're trying to figure out whether to kill him, and then in book 17, she has the whole like, you know what, fuck it, just put the oatmeal in. I don't know what's right or what's wrong anymore, kind of thing.
right. That's true. I think I also made a small realization about myself
Uh huh.
and how the you know just another way in which the patriarchy has hurt us all.
Uh huh.
When I was like, I feel like Cassie, I think I would like her more if she still had all these traumas and like concerns and objections, but she kind of kept them to herself. If she like suffered internally and like her books were like all about her like struggling, but she wasn't just all the time like making her opinion known to the rest of the group, when I'm like, ugh, Cassie, just keep it to yourself. I'm like, that's kind of like what Tobias is, and I love Tobias.
Yeah. How dare you express your emotions? It is true. Like, as a man, it's not really. If you're suffering, you figure your shit out.
Yeah, I want to be clear. This isn't like women should keep their opinions themselves. It's like, I
Yeah.
can't relate to wanting to make your opinion known. I'm like, no, you should just like, you're sad inside. And on the outside, you just do what you got to do.
I get that.
So I'm all that is to say, I'm softening a little bit on Cassie, I think.
That's good. I'm glad, because
Starting to see the other side.
I'm happy about that, because I'm a full-on Cassie apologist. I love Cassie. I love Cassie's weird moral hang-ups. I love her hypocrisy. But again, like, it is hard to justify that when you're in the early books, or some of the like early teens, because it's like, but so much of that interesting stuff is like I said, it's starting to happen in scenes like this that hadn't happened yet.
Yeah, right. Definitely. And I just also, and then finally, I'm going to bring it all back to another example of a movie where there's a scary thing and they have to try to bring them back to reality. And that's We're Back, a dinosaur story. Remember that one?
I do sort of remember that.
Same thing happens. The dinosaurs turn evil. It's a literal T-Rex, and the little kids have to be like, T-Rex, no, we're your friends.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So that was, that's how I bring us back down to levity. Bookend
that's
it
good.
with those.
Oh, see, I wanted to take us out of levity and bring up a point you had mentioned before.
Okay, that's fine.
Because Cassie in this, she says, I have to think and care, and I have to feel things. Otherwise, I might as well be some gangbanger or a Nazi.
Yeah.
Now, this is...
This
earlier,
was my
you
next
said,
note.
maybe don't bring up the real world horrors.
Yeah, well, and then they, I think Axe says, or a yerk.
Right. Okay, so we can bring it back to fiction here.
But that does almost make it seem more like they're directly saying yerks are as bad as Nazis, which they are, but it's a little bit, it's just dangerous waters to make that comparison.
Now hold on here. You're a yerky boy.
Oh, I'm saying like, there's no way out of this one, is there?
I got you in a trap.
Damn it. Fucking liberals got me again.
Don't call me a liberal.
It's the meme of the guy sweating over the two red buttons, and one is defend Yerks, the other is defend Nazis. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, yeah, this got to be the first time they used the word Nazi in an Animorphs book, right?
I swear they used the word Nazi already, but I might be wrong.
You may be right. I don't. There could be one other one. Hard to say.
Yeah, it is so hard to say. They're just always bringing up Nazis and stuff.
Probably the first gangbanger.
It's got to be the first gangbanger. Gangbanger,
what does that
to
even
me
mean?
That always feels like some kind of like racist dog whistle, right? Where it's like, if it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, look, it's like saying a thug.
Yeah,
right?
it is. It feels like saying a thug, right?
But what is that? No one uses that term anymore, do they? Gangbanger? That just makes me think of gangbangs.
Yeah, I feel like people say gangbanger, but I feel like it's only like middle-class white people who say that.
This feels like a phrase that has been left in the past, more or less.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It's weird.
I don't know. I'm a middle-class white person, so.
You are?
I mean, I come from a middle class family and I'm white.
I guess that's the criteria.
If it
All
were
right.
just me, I'd be lower class, but since I got my middle class safety net.
So let's get into this. We get to have our action scenes now.
Sure. Let's when we're picturing this T-Rex, I just wanted to bring up last time you had given when we were talking about could Axe fight a T-Rex.
Oh yeah, sure.
And you were talking about how they're like 12 feet tall or something.
Yeah.
So here they're described as being 40 feet long and 18 feet tall, which is like twice as big in both dimensions, right? As the actual T-Rex. And I'm wondering if the reason I had a bad preconceived notion of how big they were was because I had read this book as a kid.
You really should have gone to school instead of reading these books so
Yeah,
much.
they're teaching me all kinds of bad shit.
I mean, think of the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. That's not 18 feet tall, is it? I don't think so. Well, maybe. Maybe it
I'd have
is.
to see it again.
It's at
And
least no, 18 feet doesn't seem that crazy. Actually, it's just three people on top of each other, more or less.
yeah, no, 18 feet is not that tall.
Yeah, but that's so I don't know.
It's bigger
It seemed
than it's a lot bigger than Sue. I keep thinking about Sue's skeleton now, and yeah, that wasn't 18 feet tall.
yeah, right. Yeah, but So I guess once again the question is: was the info wrong at this time, or was K. Applegate wrong, or were scientists wrong? These are the
Yeah, I mean, if
questions.
we had the skeletons, you would think they would know, but I don't. No,
Right?
Sue was
No.
around. Sue was around because I am like positive that because I grew up in the Midwest, and I am positive that I like went to see Sue or something at like the Natural History Museum in Chicago when I was really young.
But you don't think they could have just had a bone mixed up? They're like, "Oops, we thought this was its leg, but it's not."
Yeah, I guess a lot of those skeletons are like incomplete too, and they have to extrapolate. I don't know.
Yeah. According to the internet,
Yeah,
the specific Jurassic Park T Rex
yeah.
uh was 20 feet tall.
Okay,
Uh,
so
that that
that
was the
was not out of line.
animatronic. It's possible that
Mhm.
maybe in the movie itself it was framed differently, but it's supposed to be 20 feet tall and 40 feet long. So,
So she got her specs from Jurassic Park,
and
basically.
who can blame her?
Yeah, I mean, why not? What are you supposed to do? Go? She didn't. She couldn't just go online and check Wikipedia.
No, she couldn't.
Yeah. Uh,
After
Schnorf,
taking it,
schnorf.
Snorf. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up
Yeah,
Snorf.
schnorf, schnorf. That's the sound the tries make.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, they're gonna go attack this Nesk base now as dinosaurs. They're moving on. No time for your traumas, Cassie. We have to go fight and have some more trauma and killing. I
Yep.
would be like she wouldn't care, but she already had a meltdown about killing a termite, so
Well, that one she had to literally bite its head off or something.
that's true.
So
She can't just stomp on it.
yeah, it was a little different.
All right, so this upcoming scene is one of those classic chaotic Animorph scenes where you really can't tell what's going on half the time. So I am going to explain it out in detail, and I kind of expect you to be like, I didn't even realize that was happening, because I certainly didn't till I
Yeah,
reread it, even though I've read this book a million times.
right.
Um, all right, so they get to the nest base. It is clearly like a military base, right? There's perimeter defenses. There's a bunch of like collected shit from, obviously all these different species because the Nesk are scavengers. All the buildings are made out of dirt, but it's like compacted and polished up to look like metal. I mean, this is kind of the Tatooine picture for me, but um,
Sure.
there's like a big dirt mound in the middle of the compound that presumably it has the Nesk Queen or something. Uh, as we said, there aren't like bodies. There's just ants in the ground wherever. Um, so they're walking in, they're not triggering any alarms because they're just dinosaurs, and they start planning out, okay, here's what we're going to do, here's how we're going to get into this bunker or whatever. And alarms start going off because they have a thought speak detector, um, which I guess is a thing that Andalites in our present time are working on making, but haven't yet made. So rest assured, the Yerks will not have a thought speak detector because the Andalites haven't gotten there yet. But the
Phew.
Nesk do. Hmm?
I just said
Few,
few.
yes. Yeah. Uh, but the Nesk have this thing. So the Nesk starts swarming them by the millions. They don't realize it's the dinosaurs yet. So they're swarming out of the ground. There's waves of Nesk coming out of the ground. But the Animorphs still aren't being attacked. So they bust into the buildings and they start trying to break apart all of the spaceships before, the Nesk realize what's up. They get their hands on an explosive. So they've busted up some of the ships. They've got their explosive. They got what they're here to do. But now the Nesk know who they are and what's going on. So chaos ensues, right? The Nesk are like swarming over them and biting them like ants. They're also blasting them with energy beams, whatever. People's limbs and feet are like burning off. They're running. They're getting the fuck out of there. Jake gets shot like literally in half. Like his whole back half is vaporized. And Axe is calling for help. So at the last second when they're about to die, some Mercora ships show up. And there's like a standoff. There's some shooting, and the Mercora ship and the Nesk ship end up blowing each other up. One of the Mercora ships that has survived manages to rescue them, and the other Nesk ships retreat. But the Mercora who rescued them, they are sad about fighting, and they have made the sacrifice of pain.
Yeah.
They've each ripped off one of their legs and like ritualistically laid them over a brightly covered cloth, right? And it is a symbol that speaks to our spirit's pain by echoing it in physical pain, right?
Yeah. Encouraging self-harm in kids. Dangerous book.
Right. Well, because you see, there was fighting and anyway. What do you think about this scene?
I would have probably summarized it with less words.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you could say they attack. It's fucking ridiculous. They leave, but I feel like I want to lay it out because I kind of want to know what happened.
Yeah, no, I get that. The independent thought alarm is cool.
To
put it in Simpsons terms.
Right.
And basically, I was kind of mad at the Mercora because I'm like, what's with all these alien species that won't actually help them fight? But it was essentially so they could come in and pull a Millennium Falcon at the very end. There needed to be an out for them to be losing, but then still win, so there'd be some drama.
Yeah, they're not quite the Chi, right? Like they're pacifists, but they will fight if they have to. Unlike the Chi, who just won't.
Are they pacifists on purpose, or are they just shitty at making weapons? So they're like, we'll just hide.
They have like a whole thing when they do the ritual of pain, the sacrifice of pain. They specifically say, to be killed is a sadness, to kill is a sin.
Oh yeah, that's pretty.
So
good.
like they don't want to help. They don't want to kill. Yeah, that's why they use force fields instead of weapons. But they do clearly have them, and they will use them if they need to. So
you got to pick one or the other. You can't make both. The Nesk have weapons. They have force fields.
Yeah,
that's just the way it is. And I also like that the Nesk are just like biting them.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, it's and then also this part, once we did have a not quite as obvious as the earlier ones, but there was a little bit of a vor scene here as well.
I don't even remember this.
When Cassie picks Tobias up in her mouth and she's carrying him to safety and she's kind of biting him as they're going and she says, "Let me know if I bite too hard." I'm like, if this were Jake, he would be in heaven. He'd be losing it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But
Let's cue yet another. I already spent all last week writing Animorphs 4 fan fiction. You're gonna get me started again.
oh boy, another week down the tubes.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it is sometimes. We also don't find out who these ships actually belong to because presumably the Nesk stole them. They don't actually make their own ships.
No. Yeah, they make things out of dirt, it seems.
So maybe this is a Korla ship. I don't know.
Could be. Well, but the Korla are from modern times. These are
Oh,
all 65 million year ago alien species.
I guess that's true. Yeah. Oh well.
Yeah.
There's
Who
basically a
knows?
whole ass Beast Wars happening. Is what's
Yeah,
happening.
that is what's happening. There is a Beast Wars.
It's a Beast Wars. Classic Beast Wars.
That's what I'm from now on. That's what I'll just. Oh yeah, and then they had a whole Beast Wars thing.
Yeah, pretty much. Not Rise of the
Uh,
Beasts, to be clear. Beast Wars.
Beast Wars. Yeah. Iguanodons show up at this point too.
Loved that. I love Iguanodon. That's my favorite.
Iguanodons are pretty cool. They're
I
the
love them.
first discovered dinosaur.
Oh wow, yes, I
I
didn't know that.
believe. I think.
Well,
Maybe I'm
sure.
wrong.
Well, obviously not the first discovered by scientists in modern day.
Right. Yeah. We don't want to discount the what indigenous peoples like the Flintstones found.
Well, I was just gonna say like the Animorphs discovered them first,
Oh, okay, I see.
but yeah, Flintstones too.
Yeah. um yeah, it's chaotic. They do the thing. I like the ritual or the sac. I keep calling it the ritual. I like the sacrifice of pain. We get like a
Mhm.
good cap to the Cassie moment earlier, where Cassie says, "Our arms and legs do not regenerate," and the Mercora say, "Then you must bear the pain inside." And Cassie says, "I will."
And I was like,
So
that's what I'm talking about. Inside.
inside, not with your mouth. Yeah, these
And not with
Makora are
thought
what you
speech
want.
either.
Instead of telling everybody about it, you should just rip off your fucking arm
Yeah,
and
man.
be done with it.
This is pretty metal, you gotta admit.
It's good. I like them. I like crab people. I'm a huge Mercora fan. Love me some Mercora.
Wow, yeah. They're good. They're good.
But yeah, they get back. They finished their mission. Hooray. They've got their explosive. They can figure out what they need to do. And, the Mercora tell them that after, now that the Mercora see that they've got new allies, they seem to be retreating or something. That the Nesk or not the Nesk have figured that out. The Nesk are retreating, it seems. They don't want to deal with this shit anymore, and they are leaving. Um, so that's pretty good. So all the Mercora are celebrating. I should point out they celebrate by plowing fields and planting seeds. Great time at the Mercora party.
Party
Um,
animals.
but then come that night, they look up, and you remember that comet that they saw earlier. Um, Way back last book, I don't think we mentioned they saw a comet that was really big. But they see on the comet that the Nesk are diverting it. There's like a flare coming out of it at a right angle to its trajectory, right? So they're diverting it so it is going to hit Earth, right? It's coming right at the settlement. Axe said it wasn't going to hit Earth, but it is now. The Mercora could stop it, but they would need to use the explosive that the Animorphs got. They don't have anything of their own to stop it. So the Animorphs all vote on it, and shockingly, the vote passes easily. They agree to give it to the Mercora instead of using it to go home. It mostly passes because Axe and Tobias just kind of vote, yeah, give it to the Mercora without saying anything. But immediately after they give the Mercora their device, the reveal, Tobias, right, he told Axe, disable it so it won't work. With no instruction from Jake or anything. And his logic is, listen, we never found Mercora fossils or settlements. The Mercora never spread. The Mercora did not survive. This is the comet that killed the dinosaurs, and I needs to make sure that it destroyed the Mercora as well. It needs to make sure that it destroyed the dinosaurs, and Tobias is making sure that everything goes down like it's supposed to. So they all morph birds to get as far away as possible before this thing hits. Um, so here's where we get the like real time travel loop shit that we were talking about earlier.
Now, I have to admit,
Mm-hmm.
we knew that I suspected that it seemed pretty clear, it was implied that this was going to be the destruction of the dinosaurs happening because there's comets in the air.
Yeah.
I did not see it coming that the Nesk are the ones who are actually responsible for it.
Yeah, it was not going to hit until the Nesk diverted it, and they only did it because the Animorphs showed up and did this.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good, and I love that Tobias makes the intentional choice. Like, the other Animorphs are probably not, like, there's like a whole thing about it, but Tobias is like, we cannot allow this not to happen.
It's because he's the dinosaur kid. He knows.
Yeah. It is very reasonable to say that in the Animorph series, Tobias kills the dinosaurs. I think that is a true piece of Animorphs lore.
Yeah, and he's arguably the closest to the dinosaurs because he spends most of his time as a bird.
Yes.
So he accepts the weight of this decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very dark. It's very compelling. I love that he just does it because he's like, I'm not fucking arguing with Cassie about this one.
Yeah. And also like because it takes some of the weight off of the others, right? Where it's like the Mercora were nice and helped them out, then Tobias is like, nope, they gotta die.
Yeah.
They just gotta die. And he specifically is like, I want to do it this way because if we told them we weren't going to give them the explosive, you know, maybe they would get away. Maybe they would run. Maybe they'd find another way. If we lie to them, if they put all their hopes in us, then it'll be too late by the time they find out.
Yeah, they have to actively betray them.
Yeah, the Mercora, like, it's not enough that this just kills the dino. The Mercora have to die.
I kind of
because we know that's what happens.
I wish there was like one named Mercora that we got to kind of get to know a little bit that would make this hit even harder.
Yeah. That's like, too bad.
Oh,
she could have made up some weird alien name with way too many like clicks and weird shit.
Yeah, Data Chuck.
Yeah. Data Chuck. That's my favorite Mercora. Data Chuck the Mercora.
I'm shocked you didn't make that reference earlier, but
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, it's a really good ending. That's like I said, it surprised me. I was like, oh, I can't believe it. I did not figure this one out. Bravo.
Yeah, I mean, it's this really, you know, this brings me back to the Ellimist. The Ellimist, because every time this shit happens now, you just have to be like, well, the Ellimist was probably here. He's not explicitly in this book. It's never explicitly here, but like, if the Animorphs had not come back in time here, humans would not have evolved. Because the dinosaurs would not have died out 65 million years ago if this asteroid didn't hit. And it wouldn't have hit if the Animorphs didn't come back. The Mercora would have spread or something, or the Nesk, or something would have happened with them. But neither of those races took a foothold. Instead, the asteroid hit and killed the dinosaurs.
Yeah, that's what happened.
So you got to think, like, is this Ellimist shit? Was the Ellimist like, well, I want to make sure there's humans on Earth, right? So I'll just make sure that happened.
Yeah.
I don't know if that fits with the Ellimist timeline as we'll learn it, but you just can't help but think that now every time some wacky shit like this goes down.
Every time I'm in traffic, I'm like, Ellimist did this.
Ellimist, it was the Ellimist. Now, it is notable that they don't have a plan to get back here.
What do you mean? Right? They're going to make a big blow up, and then they blow up.
Yeah, but like the whole point was that Axe was going to have time to figure out how to make a big blow up work to send them back. But they don't do that now. Now it's just like, well, we'll have to get really far away. I don't even think they... I will say this is going to send them back to the future, right? Like, they're not going to die when the asteroid hits.
The
But
asteroid will
like,
do it. It'll make an explosion. It all works out.
yeah, but I don't think the Animorphs are planning that at this point. Like,
Well,
I think they're like Tobias is sacrificing them all to make sure humans exist.
I think Tobias or Axe might be planning it. Everyone else is just like, we just got to get the hell out of here. We don't know what's going on. Because I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they don't even find out about the nuke thing until like 10 minutes before it's about to all blow up. So
Yeah,
they don't really have time to sit around and hatch a plan.
that is true. I mean, this thing is
Uh,
either this thing is hitting or they're not going to have their nukes. So,
a couple character notes I want to make here. When
uh-huh.
if you hear the Mercora's sirens first, Marco says, "Sounds like the cops." I just like that's his go-to. I feel like Marco's a little shady, or he knows he's like, oh god, the cops are around. Cheese it.
We're fucking pigs.
He's Marco's a man of the streets. He knows what's up. And also, when Jake is yelling at them about something, Cassie describes it as the low, silky voice he uses when he's really
Mm.
mad. Cassie's
Mm.
into angry Jake.
Mm.
No one else is going to say this is a silky voice.
That's true. That's true. Cassie's into it.
And those are my notes. Oh, and also, well, I guess I'll say this. I don't know. This is kind of right before the end, maybe, but maybe the best sentence ever written
Hmm.
is in this book.
Okay. Okay. Tell me this sentence.
We morphed to dolphin and waited for the world to end.
That is a really good sentence. I like that quite a bit.
Incredible.
You think they were
What?
like, so long and thanks for all the fish?
I think they were. That's right up there with the man in black fled across the desert.
Yeah, that's true.
The best of times, the worst of times. We morphed to dolphin and waited for the world to end.
She could have started this book, how do
Oh
you pronounce
yeah.
that? Like
In
in
medias
media
res.
ray?
Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever. She could, yeah. We morphed. Imagine if the book had started. We morphed to dolphin and waited for the world to end. Whatever. I bet you're wondering how I ended up in this situation.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Oh man. Uh, let's talk about some of the dinosaur stuff here. So we get it explicitly told us these. I had posited earlier that these were titanosaurs, the sauropods they saw. We learn here that they were actually Saltosaurus. So Saltosaurus were pretty long pretty long. Were pretty small for sauropods. So they were only like 28 feet long or so.
Okay.
So they were actually not that much. They were a lot smaller than she thinks T Rex was. In real life, they were probably about the same size as T Rex.
Okay.
So we get that here. But let's talk about this asteroid. So what's really interesting about the asteroid theory of the dinosaurs is how fucking new it is. Because like I grew up my whole life just being like, yeah, asteroid killed the dinosaurs. Everybody knows that. The idea that an asteroid hit them, or that an asteroid hit, is like that was around 1980 was when that idea first showed up, like at all, and the crater for this asteroid was also found around them, but this crater and the theory weren't put together until 91. So it wasn't like the primary theory that asteroids killed the dinosaurs until after I had been born, which is crazy to me. Is that not crazy to you?
They had a quick turnaround putting that in all the fucking dinosaur books then, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, like clearly they did. And I mean, K. Applegate clearly read that too, because I checked some of Axe's science where he says, oh, the asteroid was about so big, moving about so fast. And I'm like, yeah, that actually checks out with what Wikipedia says here. She didn't get that wrong. So she clearly looked at the actual numbers or guessed really good.
Yeah. It feels like if that news came out today, like 50% of people would just be like, I don't believe it. Dinosaur truthers. It's not.
Yeah.
The fact that at this time in our culture, society was just like, hey, science told us this is how it happened now. Update the movies. We got to put that
Yeah.
in there.
I mean, even through the 90s, there was still a lot of debate. Like, it wasn't like the number one, just everyone thinks of it theory until like almost by the time we were in college, right? It's just, it was the primary predominant theory. Most academics agreed with it in the 90s.
It's also more dramatic, right? It's more
Yeah.
fun to imagine that than something else.
Yeah. Now, this puts them on the Yucatan Peninsula for where they were,
Okay.
because that's where the crater that killed the dinosaurs was.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we know where they were.
Okay.
They traveled a little bit through space as well as time here.
I'm glad. Okay. All right.
So we know.
Cool.
Um just helping you place what's going on with all the science,
Yeah. No, it's like
giving you the
it's
background.
cool. It's like the
If
Game of Thrones
Asimov
map.
wrote this story, this is all it would be. You wouldn't get dinosaur hang gliding. You'd be hearing about this crater and the numbers and
Yeah. He'd be writing all about the Nikes and stuff.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. I know all the. He's always writing about the sneakers and stuff.
I just don't know.
A lot of Asimov books. He's always talking about like the kinds of sneakers.
Mm-hmm. Will Smith Asimov.
I've read that book and I heard there's a lot of stuff about Nikes in it.
You're right.
We've both read it.
We did both read it.
Yeah.
I've
proven that.
So the that asteroid hits. Like I said, the Sario Rip collapses and they get to go home. They don't immediately go there. We go home. We get treated to a scene where they watch the history of the Earth unfold. So, that's fun. But they end up back home. They go home. Nobody died on the sub explosion. And they can't morph dinosaurs anymore. And that's the end of the book.
I want to know, what is the vantage point for this watching all of human history happen? Because it's described as like, then I saw the Antarctica moving, and then I saw mammals covering the. I'm like, are they like just out in space, like a bird's eye view? What is this? Are they just watching a computer screen that's showing?
They get
this?
a movie.
Yeah, they get a montage. They see it from
Ellimist space.
Yeah, I don't know how that's working, but
yeah, it's a fun thing. It feels like that's how you would show the scene in a movie.
Yeah,
and when you put it in a book, it's kind of like. But the scene is so visual. Like in the book, it makes me think about the logistics, and I don't know what the hell they are.
Yeah, it's fine. It makes more sense if an Ellimist is doing it.
Yeah.
But like, why they didn't, when they first went back, they didn't see time in reverse. Like, why do they see it now?
I don't know.
Someone explains Sario rips to me and why they also just negate morphs.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a little stupid. I wish they could show up as T-Rexes. That would be so cool.
It would be great.
Yeah, whatever. There's one other morph in the series that they aren't going to get to keep that I think is bullshit.
God. Enough of this.
We'll get there and I'll be so upset because, anyway.
I only have one other complaint about this book, which is I think it would have been better if Tobias had morphed a Pteranodon. That would have been cool. He's like, oh, now I'm a big bird.
Yeah, big old bird.
That would have been more fun. Kind of sucks that they're just these shitty little Danny Knockeruses.
The Danny Knockeruses. Danny Knockeruses are cool.
I guess, but not compared to a bunch of T-Rex.
I liked Danny Knockerus. I am calling bullshit on this no deaths in the nuclear sub disaster.
No,
like no, like fuck off. They died.
They all got to safety. They're fine.
It reminds me of in the guys who made the DCAU, like the Justice League and Superman cartoons and Batman cartoons. They said when they were talking about censorship, because it's like a kid show. They were like, you can't necessarily show people die, but we could blow up entire cities, and it would be fine as long as we showed one guy getting rescued from the building. We could blow up like buildings and just kill everybody in them, and then that was fine because then the parents could say, "Oh, see that one guy got rescued. See, so they are all fine." Like you
Yeah.
blew up a fucking nuclear sub right next to all these divers. None of them died.
None of them
It's
died.
fine.
They're all good. They should have just been like, some fucking Taxons died. Who gives a shit?
There weren't any Yerks there. There were no Yerks in this entire book.
God, you are right. This is a completely Yerk-free book.
Is this the only Yerk-free book?
It certainly is the only one we've read.
Yeah, I think there are other Yerk-free books, but I'm not 100% on that.
My God. And usually I'm willing to pay extra for my Yerks.
That's right. I'm happy you said that.
Yeah, that's wild. Now I have a feeling. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm up in the air right now, but I guess that you would prefer this book to the first Megamorphs if we're going to compare them.
Oh yeah, I would. Yes.
I think I probably would too, but honestly, I don't know. They're kind of close in my head.
Interesting.
I mean, you'd think like Dinosaurs is just an obvious win. And also just the crazy shit that happens. But it's definitely, I'll say that it certainly is paced better, and the POV chapters are structured in a more sensible way.
Yeah, that was the main two reasons I like this better are that I think it's easier to follow in the POV's work, and also anytime that KA introduces some kind of like absolutely crazy alien shit that's just off the wall, I love it. Right? So like I love this book for having Mercora in it. And the Valik is like, it's fine. You know, the crazy lady burning down the house while Rachel has amnesia, that's fun. Marco driving a car as a gorilla and it's Cassie's dad's truck and fucking it up, that's fun. But like it doesn't really compare to the Mercora and the Nesk and the Animorphs killed the dinosaurs in a time loop to make sure that humans would evolve. I don't know.
I think you're right. I think this book is better, but I think I am kind of. Whereas not that long ago, I feel like I was saying, man, it's so refreshing. These Animorphs get to get out and do a different thing. Now I feel like I'm almost nostalgic for, the first Megamorphs is a little bit more, yeah, sure, there was a Valik, but it's like, yeah, you had a pool party and you're driving a car and like seeing you were in the woods and watching the news. And there's getting to be a lot of this is just, I can't really relate to anything on alien planets or in dinosaur times. It's a different vibe.
Yeah, I could see that. Like the more grounded Animorphs books and the Animorphs books that just like take you to the furthest stretches of your imagination.
Yeah.
You could say those are the two classes of Animorphs book.
Yeah.
And then I guess there's a third one, which is the one where they spend all their time as skunks or as moles.
Right, the animal, much more deeper into the animal world books, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We should have some more grounded books and some more wild books. Before this season is over, we'll get some more of both. So
okay, that's good. Anything else to put a cap on it? Do you want pop culture?
Yeah, I'm ready for pop culture.
Wow, great. Okay, obviously Denny's. Rachel wants Denny's. She'd give up shopping, which is
for
a lot.
Grand Slam breakfast, she says specifically.
Yes, the one with the pancakes.
Right.
Get the hash browns as a side order. 2 sausage links, 2 slices of bacon, 2 eggs of a medium. Not too soft and runny. Maple syrup on the pancakes has to be maple.
God damn, I'm
going to Denny's after this. I like Smuckers, of course. We already went through that whole quote. The 2 little lines that get scratched into the Spinosaurus that they say looks like something the Spinosaurus might put a Band-Aid on. Band-Aid, as we all know.
Yep.
Trademark.
Sure is.
It also looks at Rachel like she has Oscar Mayer printed on her back. Yeah, which I think Jake has done before too. They reference how on Star Trek you see aliens speak English all the time. So we had a direct meta reference about that. Marco starts singing about the Flintstones theme song because of how the Flintstones lived with dinosaurs, of course.
Mm-hmm.
He also references an old movie called Quest for Fire. I had never heard of this movie. Did you know what this was?
I feel like I have. You know what? There is a movie that sounds like what he's describing that I'm pretty sure I saw on TV when I was a kid. And I've always assumed it's this movie, but I don't actually know if it's Quest for Fire or not. But I do recall a like weird caveman movie with a Babe tribe and a Hairy tribe.
It's probably this. I looked it up. It has Ron Perlman in it. It was the only actor I like saw that I recognized in the credits.
Okay.
And it was pretty popular. Like it won an Oscar for best makeup, and it won a fair bunch of other awards. Like did pretty well in the box office. I've never heard anyone mention this movie in my life.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we got to watch Quest for Fire now. That's a Patreon episode.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
Okay, we talk about Rachel jokes about Marco's superior knowledge of Spider-Man's superpowers.
Mm-hmm.
You already said the McRex.
Yep.
Which we know what it is, but he also mentions the quarter tonner with cheese. Talk about sitting around on lazy boy force fields, more lazy boy stuff. Marco is munching a carrot, says, I thought about making a Bugs Bunny joke, decided the joke I had in mind wasn't all that funny. So we get a little insight into Marco's moke making process.
It must have been a pretty bad moke because Marco usually doesn't mind if his jokes aren't that funny.
Yeah, that's really, now we know he does have a standard.
Yeah.
He also says we could change the future so that Hansen would never have existed. Which is,
if they remade this book for the 2010s, that would have been Justin Bieber.
Right. I was going to say One Direction.
And
if it was
depends
now,
on when they remade it.
Maybe now it'd be BTS. I don't know.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, that fits.
I don't know if BTS has the same. Like when we were kids, if you were a boy, like, oh, you hated boy bands.
Yeah, I'm too old to know how people feel. Yeah.
Right. Again, Marco says, you're Batman. I'm just Robin, the boy wonder. And when they're stomping on ants, he says, this is so Godzilla.
Yeah.
Haven't had a Godzilla ref in a while. So that was good.
No, I don't think we have. I think there's also some parts where they mention Cretaceous Park, which I'm assuming is a Jurassic Park reference.
Yes, again. I did kind of half think about putting that in, but yeah, that's fair.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's our references.
Well, that's Megamorphs too. That was a wild excursion we had there.
Fucking wild book.
Yeah, it was. It went to a lot of places I didn't expect.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm, just I never know. I just never know where we're going with this series. So I'm enjoying that ride.
Gotta keep you on your toes.
Sure does. It sure does. Hey, people can let us know what they think about this book or any other comments or questions you have about Animorphs. You can email them to us, theyerkyboys@gmail.com. And I guess you can still follow us on X at the Yerky Boys. God, I don't even... It's so confusing to just be in the middle of all this shit on a podcast. Yeah. Don't know how it's shaken out. You can follow me on Threads. I'm fully embracing it right now. At Jonathan Estes on Threads. You can also listen to my other podcast, Geeks on Trial, where we talk about other geeky subjects. You can find it on any podcast platform.
Yep. You can also follow me on X at Dog Times Mickey, although I don't really log into it anymore because that seeing that X in the corner pisses me off. I will not be on Threads because fuck Zuck.
They just changed the app. Twitter app now says X, and I fucking hate it.
I know.
It makes me so mad.
Jesus Christ. Thanks everyone for listening. Tune in next time when we'll be discussing Book 19, The Departure, in which Cassie turns into a butterfly on the Yerpy Boys.